welcome to Newsline on Vietnam Today. And I am Vũ Anh.
And I'm Phoebe Thang. And now let's take a look at the headlines of this hour. Resolution number 5, unlocking the potential of digital asset market.
Tropical storm Fengchen batters the Philippines.
And later on, Vietnam and Belgium unite for dioxin remediation.
We begin the bulletin with an overview of the National Assembly's October 21st session, which will review the results of the 2025 Socio-Economic Development Plan and offer feedback on the draft plan for 2026.
The lawmakers will also examine the state budget performance and projections, the central budget allocation plan for 2026, and the 3-year financial budget framework for the 2026 to 2028 period. Delegates will further discuss the outcomes of the 5-year resolutions for 2021 to 2025 on socio-economic development, economic restructuring, public investment, national finance, and public debt management, while also outlining directions for the 2026 to 2030 period. In the afternoon, the National Assembly will also review reports on the working terms of the State President, the government, the National Assembly, the State Audit Office, the Supreme People's Court, and the Supreme People's Procuracy. And in related news, the 15th National Assembly entered its final stage with the opening of the 10th session yesterday, October 20th. In spite of a global pandemic and geopolitical upheaval, the National Assembly has made remarkable strides in perfecting Vietnam's legal and institutional framework, paving the way for the country's next phase of development. Our reporter had a brief discussion with National Assembly Deputy Trần Hoàng Ngân of Ho Chi Minh City, who shared his reflections on the term's achievements and his expectations for the next legislature.
Thank you for joining us. So this is the final sitting of the 15th National Assembly. How would you assess the key results achieved during this time?
The 15th National Assembly has truly been a special term. We began our first sitting amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Then we faced new external difficulties. Yet, under the leadership of the party, the determination of the government, and the unity of all National Assembly deputies, we have successfully completed the term. We now stand at a new phase of national advancement. One key bottleneck, as identified by Party General Secretary To Lam, lies in institutional reform. Therefore, since the 8th session, the National Assembly has devoted significant resources to improving the institutional framework. In this 10th session, deputies will work together to pass nearly 50 laws, further perfecting the country's legal system and building a smart, modern institutional foundation suited to Vietnam's growth momentum.
And looking ahead, what are your expectations for the 16th National Assembly?
Every legislature builds on the achievements and spirit of those before it, the tradition of unity, diligence, and dedication. I believe the 16th National Assembly will continue that legacy, striving to build a fair, transparent legal system and a modern, intelligent institutional framework. This will not only enhance state governance, but also create the best conditions for people and businesses to join hands in achieving fast and sustainable growth.
Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you.
Now we move on to economic news. One of the most talked about trends worldwide in recent years is the rapid rise of digital currencies. So Vũ Anh, how is Vietnam responding to this global rise?
Well, Phoebe, as just mentioned, crypto assets are reshaping the global economic landscape, and Vietnam is actively embracing this trend, with over 21% of its population owning digital asset market for 5 years. This marks a historic step. Establishing an official legal framework for this is highly promising yet challenging sector. Let's take a look.
Resolution 05 outlines the deployment of offering, issuing, trading, and providing services related to crypto assets while clearly defining the state management mechanism for this novel field.
The digital asset industry is finally recognized with numerous regulations regarding transactions and taxation. Investors will receive state protection and avoid sophisticated fraudulent schemes that have long tarnished the image of digital asset industry.
Resolution 05 clearly stipulates that crypto assets must be based on real assets, and only organizations licensed by the Ministry of Finance are permitted to provide services. These enterprises must meet very high requirements regarding capital, technology, risk management processes, anti-money laundering to ensure market safety. However, managing a novel field like blockchain with its dizzying pace of development is no simple task. According to experts, the biggest challenge is how to build a legal framework that is flexible enough not to become obsolete immediately after being issued.
The capital requirement of 10 trillion Vietnam dong means that only large organizations, financial institutions akin to banks, can participate. While they may not have previously experimented with digital finance, such regulation can ensure investors' safety and foster robust growth for digital finance.
This industry, it moves so quickly, and then and thus, I think it's impossible to write rules today that can fit 5 years from now on. What would work better is that we focus on the product principles like safety, transparency, and investor protection, and then we can adjust it over time. And then second, I think to execute on this transformation, I think Vietnam should bring on experts who not only have exposure to the global standard, but also understand Vietnam specific condition. And I think that would help a lot in bridging the gap between global and Vietnamese standards.
From a nation once very cautious, Vietnam is now undergoing a historic transformation, proactively seizing opportunities from the crypto asset market. So what specific opportunities and challenges will this pioneering move bring to the economy? We now discuss this with Mr. Pavel Poskakukind, co-chairman of the Digital Sector Committee at the European Chamber of Commerce in Vietnam. So, thank you. It's good to have you here, Pavel. So from an international expert perspective, how do you assess Vietnam's decision to launch, a 5-year pilot program for the digital asset market?
From an international standpoint, this demonstrates Vietnam's determination to safeguard financial stability, anti-money laundering, compliance, consumer protection, and so on. And these are areas where the country has previously faced scrutiny, right? So it shows that the government is learning from international financial precedents, which is where poorly regulated crypto booms have led to consumer losses and market instability. And it also shows that the 5-year pilot is best understood as an incremental step. So the ultimate success of the initiative will be depending on whether the authorities can regulate and translate high-level laws into detailed implementing regulations, but also create a credible supervisory framework and basically strike a balance between control and between innovation.
Well, what opportunities could the digital asset market bring to Vietnam, not just at the national level, but also for key stakeholders across the ecosystem?
The domestic market, I understand, is valued at over 100 billion USD and is estimated at an annual transaction of 1 trillion USD. And the government can bring this massive pre-existing market under state oversight. So by applying a modest transaction tax, which is now proposed at 0.1%, to mirror security trades, the government could generate an estimated 800 million in annual tax revenue, creating a new and substantial tax base. So for local businesses, particularly SMEs and startups, the emergence of regulated digital assets could provide access to alternative fundraising mechanisms and reduce reliance on traditional bank loans.
Last question for you, Pavel. So what would be your recommendations for Vietnamese regulators to build a globally competitive digital asset ecosystem?
So I think, for example, countries like Singapore and even jurisdictions within the European Union have demonstrated operational and governance requirements that are just as important as capital thresholds. And also, international experience emphasizes the need for phased implementation. Starting with a limited pilot before expanding access has allowed regulators to gradually build capacity and refine the rules. So, for example, Vietnam's 5-year pilot aligns with this approach, but it should incorporate measurable KPIs and a timeline for gradually opening the market to broader participants.
Well, thank you, Pavel, for sharing. So, real estate prices in Vietnam remain high, leaving many would-be homeowners unable to afford housing. Despite several policy measures to support the sector, the market's recovery has been slow. Experts say the key barrier, housing prices far outpacing income levels, has yet to be resolved. To truly revive the market, they stressed the need to address the supply-demand imbalance and promote affordable housing development. A report from Ho Chi Minh City.
After 8 years of working in Ho Chi Minh City, Wu Hiu Hum has yet to achieve his dream of owning a home. With a budget of around $114,000, finding a new apartment even in the city's outskirts is nearly impossible.
Right now, it's not possible to buy a house. For example, some projects on Nguyễn Hữu Thọ Street are selling at around $1,900 per square meter. With an average apartment size of 80 square meters, that's about $189,000.
In reality, the supply of affordable and mid-range housing has almost vanished, while most new projects are targeting the luxury segment. Meanwhile, dozens of projects remain stuck in legal procedures, further tightening supply.
There are very few new projects being launched, and those that tend to be very expensive due to high tax rates that makes it almost impossible for real home buyers, especially workers, to afford a stable place to live.
According to experts, two main pressures are driving up household costs and limiting affordable supply, lengthy legal procedures and rising input costs.
Currently, the legal process of launching a real estate project and putting it on the market takes at least 18 months to several years. At the same time, input costs have risen sharply, including borrowing costs, construction expenses, and labor, all of which place enormous pressure on developers.
Experts say Vietnam needs to expand affordable housing supply through coordinated policies to cool prices. They recommend clearer incentives on land use, costs, and administrative procedures, alongside the 20% land allocation for social housing in commercial projects. Only by balancing the interests of the state, businesses, and citizens can the property market achieve long-term stability.
Coming up next on Newsline. Tropical storm Feng Shen batters Philippines.
And later on, massive Amazon Web Services outage disrupts internet worldwide.
We're now at the international news segment of the bulletin, and we start off with updates on Tropical Storm Feng Shen in the Philippines.
Well, at least 10 people have been killed after Tropical Storm Feng Shen made landfall in the Philippines, triggering torrential rains that inundated large areas across the northern and central regions of the country. Authorities have warned of severe flooding and landslides as heavy rainfall continues. According to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, more than 37,000 households have been affected by the storm, while several cities have declared a state of calamity. The storm also disrupted transport networks, leaving over 4,100 passengers stranded as 60 seaports suspended operations. Schools have been closed from October 20th to 22nd as a safety precaution. The Philippines government has released over 2 million pesos, approximately $35,000 in emergency assistance to affected families as rescue and recovery efforts continue across the hardest hit areas.
The Republic of Korea's Foreign Ministry announced on October 20th that 10 individuals have been arrested in Cambodia on suspicion of involvement in online scam operations. 2 others were rescued just days after dozens of suspected members of a large-scale scam network were repatriated. The arrested individuals are expected to be brought back to the country later this week. Seoul is currently searching for about 80 people who remain unaccounted for in Cambodia. And since last year, roughly 550 South Korean citizens have been reported missing or detained against their will after entering the country. The government estimates that around 1,000 of its citizens may be among the 200,000 people believed to be working in fraudulent operations in Cambodia.
On Monday, a major incident in Amazon Web Services cloud infrastructure caused widespread outages, affecting dozens of major websites and apps worldwide. Dow Detector reported nearly 70 Amazon Web Services were disrupted. Amazon cited an operational issue and said most services will restore after several hours. The outage also impacted the lives of Delta Airlines and United Airlines, leaving passengers unable to access online services. Gaming platforms such as Roblox and Fortnite, along with Canva and Coinbase, were similarly affected. The incident has renewed concerns over global reliance on centralized cloud infrastructure. Just a year after a CrowdStrike software error caused a massive worldwide Windows crash.
Environment ministers from the world's leading economies wrapped up their G20 ministerial meeting in Cape Town on October 17th. Agreements have been reached on tackling air pollution and combating wildlife trafficking. Let's now take a closer look.
Of the 6 key priorities on the table, just 2 gained the backing of all 20 nations: tackling poor air quality and fighting the trafficking of plants and animals, such as rhinos and pangolins.
Quality has been on the agenda of the G20, and we managed to get full consensus on it. And also we have the Cape Town Ministerial Declaration on crimes, environmental crimes, and that's specifically focusing on illicit wildlife trafficking, but also fauna, flora, and various other types of traffic.
Officials highlighted the far-reaching impact of environmental threats, stressing that air pollution cannot be viewed in isolation. With the G20 environment talks finishing in Cape Town, global attention now turns to COP30 in Belém, Brazil, and the upcoming summit in Nairobi, where countries will continue efforts to align on climate action and environmental priorities.
Tourism across the European Union is rebounding sharply. According to Eurostat, tourist nights in 2024 reached 3.02 billion, up 2.7% from 2023, surpassing the 3 billion night mark for the first time. Hotels remain the main choice for travelers, with 65% opting for other short-term accommodations. Cyprus and Malta recorded the largest increases, rising 14.5% and 14.4% respectively, while Finland and France saw slight declines. Most visitors came from within Europe, with just 16% from other regions. The figures highlight the EU's continued appeal and a strong post-pandemic recovery for European tourism. Coming up next on Newsline. Vietnam and Belgium unite for dioxin remediation.
Later on, Hanoi welcomes Italian Film Festival.
Welcome back to Newsline. And now we turn our attention to the latest updates on Vietnam's preparation efforts for Storm Phan.
At 4 a.m. this morning, Storm Phan was located about 200 kilometers north-northeast of the Hoàng Sa Special Zone, with wind speeds reaching 9 to 10 on the Beaufort scale and gusts up to 12. In response to this serious threat, the city of Da Nang has activated its disaster prevention plans, instructing all units and areas to avoid delays in their response efforts. The city has ordered all communes and wards to finalize their preparedness measures by 5 p.m. tomorrow, October 22nd. Local teams are being stationed at flood-prone points, guiding fishermen to safe shelters and advising residents to stock up on food and essential supplies for at least 3 days. In Quảng Ngãi, over 6,400 fishing boats, including nearly 800 still at sea, have received storm warnings and were instructed to seek shelter. The Provincial Border Guard Command has mobilized more than 300 officers, 8 boats and numerous military vehicles to stand ready for rescue operations and evacuation of low-lying areas if conditions worsened. Authorities are strictly reinforcing a ban on vessels leaving port and are organizing the inspection and docking of boats to ensure safety.
Nearly 50 years after the Resistance War, the legacy of Agent Orange still lingers across Vietnam. Now, from distant Belgium, once familiar with Vietnam only through war memories, comes a commitment to help cleanse the land. A story of hope continues.
In Belgium, engineers are working hard to test and adjust a heat technology that can destroy dioxin. They want to find the best way to restore the soil in Vietnam that has been polluted by dioxin. This work is supported by money from the Aquitara Fund in Belgium.
So we applied thermal desorption technology, and we have 2 modes of application of these technologies, in situ or ex situ. But in Vietnam, we apply ex situ treatment. But here, near me, we have in situ treatment. So the tubes are directly into the soil, compared to the Vietnam, where we excavate the soil and we build a pile and put the tube inside it.
We have, with Aquitara Fund, set up a technology transfer agreement so that we want to have Vietnam remediated by Vietnamese people and Vietnamese companies. Of course, we need to bring the technology, but we need it to be completely transferred to Vietnamese companies and that the added value remains in Vietnam.
The Aquitara Fund was created in 2024. The fund helps Vietnam by giving money and technology to eradicate dioxin from the soil. The fund also supports people who have suffered the effects of Agent Orange.
What we will do is we will clean the land, we will develop eco-industrial parks, and we have the An Vui Mart initiative, where we have the first 3 pilots that are already operational. So it's small micro-convenience stores that we donate to families that have Agent Orange victims. The idea behind it is to give them an income, an extra income, to make their life better.
And so I'm also very happy now that Belgian companies can also try to solve and remediate the problem of the contaminated soil by the technology which is coming from Belgium, by funding which is coming from Belgium, and so this gives us more reliability, authority with the Vietnamese government, and that's always good for Belgium and it's also good for Vietnam.
From financial support of the Aquitara Fund to technological solutions, the cooperation between Vietnam and Belgium not only helps overcome the aftermath of war, but also creates opportunities for a greener, cleaner, and safer future for future generations.
Tân Cương tea in Thái Nguyên province has long been known as the finest tea in Vietnam. And from these traditional tea leaves, many young people in Thái Nguyên province are finding new ways to bring their hometown's tea closer to modern consumers and international visitors. Let's now discover the story of Tân Cương tea through the eyes of the young generation.
Beginning its venture with a beverage popular among young consumers, this entrepreneur chose black tea made from ancient Tân Cương tea leaves in Thái Nguyên as its core ingredient. After exploring several renowned tea-growing regions, he
compared with similar teas from China or Taiwan. To appeal to younger tastes, we combine traditional tea varieties with modern brewing techniques and advanced technology.
Raised in a family with a long tradition of tea making, Trịnh Duy Lê chose a new path to produce black tea. Although there were doubts at first, his products have gradually gained popularity, especially among young consumers.
In the past, we made green tea and sold it within days, but black tea requires months, even up to a year, of fermentation. Although the process is more challenging, it brings new vitality to our tea village. As drinking habits change, tea is now enjoyed in many forms, like milk tea, reflecting a modern trend.
Sharing the same aspiration to promote Tân Cương tea, Bùi Văn Dương and his family decided to tell the tea story through tourism. Their farmstay model, launched in March, has already welcomed hundreds of domestic and international visitors.
Thái Nguyên holds great potential in its tea, people, and local specialties. I want not only to grow our family business, but also to promote our homeland's image to friends around the world.
It's very, very special to come to a place where it is grown and to see how the plants are come, the care they're taken to experience and the culture of making it, the ritual, and then the processing. I think anybody would be happy to come here and spend time and learn about tea and just enjoy.
From a traditional agriculture product, Tân Cương tea is evolving into diverse cultural experiences. With its strong brand, tourism potential, and the creativity of young generations, the future of Vietnamese tea promises to be bright and sustainable.
And we wrapped up this new bulletin with exciting news for movie lovers in Hanoi this week.
Yes, and we are talking about the Italy Film Festival 2025, which showcases a selection of acclaimed and award-winning works from contemporary Italian cinema. Co-organized by the Italian Embassy in Hanoi and the Asian Film Festival in Rome, the event aims to promote cultural exchange as well as strengthening ties between Italy and Vietnam. Our reporter Tăng Yến has the details.
I'm here at the National Cinema Center, where moviegoers are excited to enjoy the first film at this year's Italian Film Festival. All 6 selected titles have been featured at major events, from the Venice to the Nebalo Film Festivals.
This year's festival showcases 6 films of diverse themes, from seasoned directors to emerging talents. The lineup explores topics ranging from war and its aftermath to social issues and women's voices.
I've followed the Italian Film Festival for several years. Every year it brings fresh, high-quality films that have not only won Italian, but also international recognition.
So the criteria is like the previous years, so like 2024-23 and other years, is to try to convey an image of Italian society, but also Italian cinema, contemporary Italian cinema. And so really in the spirit of cultural exchange and to build bridges and so to try a better understanding between different cultures.
As part of the festival, Vietnamese and Italian filmmakers will also join a discussion on programming, collaboration, and building film communities.
So I think maybe some cooperation may develop, cooperation in terms of making films and producing films. That would be the goal we would try to reach, co-production.
With tickets priced at just 30,000 Vietnam dong, around $1.2 each, audiences can enjoy Italian films every evening at 7:30 p.m. from now until October 25th in Hanoi. The event will then travel to Ho Chi Minh City from October 26th to 31st.
And that's all the news stories we have for this hour.
We'll be back with more updates. Thank you so much for watching and goodbye for now.